Welcome, everyone, to Health Authority TV. I am Janan Sarwar, the new deputy editor of Health Authority Books, a new partnership between Indie Books International and Global Bookshelves International. I'm so honored to tell you all about today's guest. It's Dr. Darshan Kulkarni. He's a pharmacist, he's an attorney, he's a regulatory expert. He specializes in FDA law, compliance, clinical research. He's currently the principal attorney at the Kulkarni Law Firm. He advises so many different types of companies, whether it's global, pharmaceuticals, biotech. We'll learn more about that. And he's also a prolific author, an educator in the past. He teaches, the host of Darshan Talks, in which he engages with top industry leaders to demystify the intersection of healthcare, law, and I would say innovation. I hope I did a good enough job to introduce you. Tell me anything else you'd like to share, and who do you say, as a first question, that you serve as a health authority leader?
I think the first step is admitting that you're not a health authority leader. I think it's actually starting off by recognizing you're just another tool that helps people, and hopefully you can be of service. At least that's how I view it. Who do
Sure.
I try to help?
Yes.
I try to help people, as you mentioned, that there's a portion of my practice that focuses on helping FDA regulated companies, whether we're talking about pharmaceutical, biopharmaceutical, medical device, and other companies. But there's another entire portion that focuses on health care companies. So I'm
Mhm.
talking about medical doctors' offices. I'm talking about dentists. I'm talking about pharmacists, and their needs. That can be anything from helping some of them get involved in clinical research, finding new sources of income. So that goes along with it. It could be telemedicine. What are the implications of that? It could be, you know what? I had an amazing opportunity. I sold my company. What does that take? And helping them through that process. I've had an insurance company come into me and tell me that I can't do something, or they won't pay me, or they're going to kick me out of the network. I had to fight those battles as well. So those are some of the things I get into, and it's been incredible. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about this, Jalan.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's clear that you have a variety of people within the healthcare ecosystem that you serve, and it's beyond actual, like we said, not just practitioners. It can go down to the practitioner
Absolutely.
level, but also organizations, companies, and the FDA approval type things. So tell me what kind of services do you provide, and how would someone come to actually interact with you to do any of these things?
I think we kind of hinted at that a little bit because I obviously don't know how to keep my mouth shut and should have waited right after.
No, no, no.
But no, I help companies with a variety of needs. So whether they're trying to make some money, so it might be helping them with telemedicine issues so that they
Yeah.
can be virtually available in many different places. Whether it is getting involved in clinical research, whether it's starting a med spa, whether it is dealing with privacy issues and HIPAA and the fraud and abuse issues that have come up recently in that space as well. The Department of Justice has been focusing on healthcare providers. It's a major focus of theirs, and it's been there for, I want to say, over a decade at this point. So helping healthcare providers address those needs. And we're seeing that not just with doctors' offices, we're seeing that with dentists, we're seeing that with pharmacists and several others. I'm actually seeing accountants being affected by healthcare fraud issues. So it comes out of nowhere, but those are some of the topics that they get pulled into. And then I find myself helping um, hopefully guide students. So that's one of the other audience. I actually teach at Drexel University School of
Yes.
Law, and I teach uh, lawyers and burgeoning lawyers and to be lawyers prepare for what will be a healthcare ecosystem that they're going to engage in. I'm often dealing with people who are already in the system. I'm dealing with people who are getting ready to be in the system. What should they expect? What are the rules, regulations, laws that they need to follow? And then my other audience tends to be helping kids. And I'm talking about, I serve as board chair for the Emily Whitehead Foundation, and helping bring awareness to pediatric cancer and
Yes.
to rare diseases, for example, and addressing these kids' needs. I'm talking about using therapies like CAR T to actually address these kids' needs. Emily was the first kid to receive it, and today she's a successful adult. She is 18 years old, going to University of Pennsylvania, and she's a success story. And we hope that we can share that with kids across the world. And those are some of the audiences I deal with.
And you just said,
Excuse me.
bless you.
Thank
And you
you.
just mentioned the concept, you just mentioned kids across the world, and it just reminded me of the global nature with which you work, the team that you have that's global. Do you want to speak a little bit more about that? Tell us, is this in one specific area, or t how has your career shaped itself over the years?
So Junana and I have known each other for, I want to say it's been several years, if not a decade at this point, but I can't tell anymore. Time flies quickly as you get older.
Yeah,
But what my experience has been, and we've followed similar paths. My clients have always been global, and that's been a blessing because I get to understand where these clients are coming from, address their needs as they get into the US. And I've addressed their needs in Europe, I've addressed their needs in Canada and several other countries as well. The other element that goes along with it is that's where the clients are. I also have teams that are global. I'm dealing with people from the Ukraine. I'm dealing with people from India. I'm dealing with people from all over the world. You do that yourself, so you know what it's like to manage service supply chains from across the world. Managing that, addressing their needs. I think that's some of the stuff I do and you do. And then there are obviously, uh, for example, with the Emily Whitehead Foundation, the
right.
kids, if you're helping them, they're not just in the US. These kids need to be helped all across the world. And what does that look like? How do you provide help to these kids? They want, just because they're not in the US doesn't mean they don't want help. We talked a little bit before we got on this call about kids in Gaza. They definitely need the help just as much as anyone else. And we may not be talking about CAR T therapy in that scenario, but these kids need help. And that's what I think inspires all of us to be in healthcare. It's to make the world a better place. And hopefully anyone who listens to this finds that we can do exactly that together.
Absolutely. And, the healthcare system has so many complexities, and there's so many areas where you're supporting people, with the services that you provide. And even like you were saying earlier, advising someone if they are creating a new service or creating a new company, and from the legal aspects all the way to the health. And I think you being both having that law degree as well as a doctor of pharmacy degree, right? Being able to kind of see things from those perspectives is really unique. What is your proposal? If we could do something to redesign the healthcare system or make it better or have that impact that can help more people, if that's the goal, what would you say? What's your recommendations for us?
It's always a hard question, right? You're really going, you have a magic wand. How
Yeah,
do you change the world? That's
yeah.
that's a hard question. Uh, to the extent I know the answer, and it's not necessarily something I can even necessarily help with,
Okay.
and though I have ideas on how to actually cause other things to happen.
Yeah.
Um, I can think of a few different ways to change the world. Um, I'll name three off the top of my head.
Okay.
The first one is we recently had a situation where deep AI came in and completely changed what's happening with OpenAI. OpenAI was charging, it was costing them billions of dollars to achieve their goals. And China came in and basically through Deep Seek,
DeepSeek.
they came out and they said, you know what, we can do this for $6 million. And then someone came out and said we can do this for $50 and achieve the same goal. What you're seeing is iterative improvement. And the fact is that the pharmaceutical industry right now is not set up to make that happen. So my big goal will be to help drop the cost of drugs and make drugs more easily available across the world. So if we move the perspective from how do I make the same drug over and over again, which is what the generic drug industry is about, to how do I improve this drug in a way that makes things better. And there are ways to do that using what's called the 505(b)(2) pathway, but that's a different part of the discussion. Um, I think that would be one element. What is pharma's deep seek moment. How do we move from, you know what, we're going to continue doing what we're doing because no one else can challenge us.
Hmm.
There are challengers, and China's coming in and they are saying that we can make biosynthetic drugs at a cheaper rate, faster. And we learned a lot of it from you guys. So, you know what? We don't need to worry about you guys. So that's one element. I think another way I'd probably look at in making the world a little bit better. Um, there is a doctor out there, Dr. Fajgenbaum. He have you ever heard of Lorenzo's Oil?
No.
Okay. It was a movie. It's actually a famous movie. You can rent
Okay.
it right now.
Okay.
It's about this kid who had this disease, and his parents literally learned science. And it turns out grapeseed oil was all he needed, and he came out of
Wow.
his disease. He was at the verge of dying.
Okay.
Dr. Fajgenbaum had the same exact scenario. He had Castleman's disease, and he was a medical doctor, so he went and discovered his own cure, which was a repurposed old drug.
Okay.
So now he's gone out and he has a grant from Facebook, or at least Meta, and he's saying, what are the other drugs that are already out there that we can use for a new purpose? So repurposing drugs. I think we need to make more efforts down this path. So whether we're talking, this is a version of biohacking. I personally I'm interested in the next few years to, and if someone else wants to steal this idea, go for it, because to me the goal is solving the problem, not getting the glory for it. But from a regulatory pathway, you have all of these drugs, devices that go through the FDA and they get disapproved. I would
Right.
love to have all that information available so that we can
Yes.
all go, instead of rediscovering the wheel, can
Yeah.
we all use the information that's already out there
Yeah.
and just get to the next step?
Right.
Everyone keeps that information proprietary because they go, I spent a lot of money for it. Yes, you did. Without a doubt, you did. But the fact is that there were a lot of patient lives that went into it as well. So if we can go into the fact and say, after a certain amount of time, that data becomes available to everyone,
Right.
everyone builds off of that data, patients will be able to go, I didn't just risk my life for no
Hmm.
reason at all. I risked it so that other patients can improve, and then we can build off of that. I think those are three things. I can actually think of another one just to throw out. I think that the reason drugs are so expensive from a pharmaceutical company perspective is because I averaged it out. The data suggests that it takes about $4 billion to bring a drug to market. Between the studies, the drugs that fail, everything else, that's what it costs. That's the equivalent of spending approximately $1 million a day for 20 years, which means that someone's going into a casino, betting $1 million, closing their eyes, walking out, and they
Right.
do that every single day until the day it gets approved. And they might find out that they busted, or they might find out that it didn't. If someone
Right.
can help de-risk that,
Yeah.
grants, other ways to basically go, you know what? In exchange for you to not charge too much at the end, here's here's income, here's input that de-risks your drug.
Right.
I think that would be another way. But those are just some ideas.
Oh my gosh. We were talking before this call about different ideas you have to write about. I think just what you just said would be brilliant. I would want to read, or at least explore, create a task force to to figure out any of those redesigning the healthcare system magic wand ideas. But that's excellent. I know people can reach out to you in many ways. What's your preferred way for someone to connect with you? We'll
So,
put
of
links in the bio, but tell
course.
us.
So you can reach out to me using my email, Darshan, Darshan, at conformlaw, CONFORM, law.com. You comply with the law, you conform to the law. So Darshan at conformlaw.com. You can also find me on Twitter at Darshan Talks. And well, I guess X now. And I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn as well.
You are. I love seeing your updates. I look forward to continuing our conversation, staying in touch, and all of these new things that you're going to develop one day alongside your day job that you help so many people with. But
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest. It was a
Thank you for allowing me
pleasure.
to be here.
Yes. And to everyone listening, until next time, may you all be healthy, wealthy, and wise. This was Health Authority TV. Thank you.